One afternoon, I got a text from my girlfriend. It said, "I'm pregnant. But it's not yours." At first, I just stared at my phone. My heart felt like it stopped. Then, without replying right away, I sat down and took a deep breath. Finally, I texted back, "Congratulations to the father then." After that, I blocked her number. No arguments, no drama. I was done. But I didn't stop there. She had told me the name of the guy she said was the real father. So, I went online and ordered a greeting card. On the front it said, "Condolences." Inside, I wrote, "Best of luck with your new responsibility. You're going to need it." Then I mailed it to him. A few days later, my phone started blowing up, not from her, but from mutual friends. They said she was freaking out, trying to get in touch with me. She was saying she made a mistake, that she didn't mean it, and she needed to explain. But I wasn't ready to listen. I didn't want excuses. The thing is, I had always trusted her. We made plans, talked about the future, and now this? I kept thinking, was any of it even real? Even though I tried to act calm, I couldn't lie, something in me still felt broken. And just when I thought I could move on, something else happened. A few days later, I got home from work and found a note taped to my door. It was her handwriting. It said, "Please, just give me 5 minutes. No lies, no games. I just need to tell you the truth, the real truth." For a second, I thought about ripping it up. But something about the way it was written, it didn't sound like the girl who sent that cold text before. It sounded like someone desperate, or maybe scared. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything. Was there more to the story? Did she lie to cover something up? Or was this just another trick? The next morning, I ran into one of our old friends at the coffee shop. He looked uncomfortable when he saw me. "Hey man," he said. "Can we talk for a sec?" "About her?" I sighed. "Go ahead." "She's not doing well. Like, at all. She's barely eating. She hasn't left her place in days. I don't know what happened between you two exactly, but she said she panicked. That she made up the part about the baby not being yours because she was afraid. Of what, she wouldn't say." I didn't know how to respond. Part of me felt cold. Another part just felt confused. Afraid? Of me? Of being a mother? Of something else? Later that evening, I checked my messages. Even though I'd blocked her, she'd found a way to send an email. It was short. "I didn't cheat. I swear. I just thought you'd leave me if you knew the truth. But maybe I was wrong. Maybe you'd have stayed if I'd been honest." I read it 3 times. Still, no explanation of what the truth was. Just more questions. And now here I am, sitting on my couch, phone in hand, wondering whether I should reply or let the silence say everything. But then, ding! Another message just came in. From a different name. Someone I don't recognize. Ding! The message was from someone named Ava S. I didn't recognize the name at all. The subject just said, "You don't know me, but we need to talk." It's about her. I opened it, not sure what to expect. "Hi. You don't know me, but I know your ex. Not well, we met through a support group a few months ago. I wasn't going to get involved, but I saw what she's been going through and I couldn't stay quiet. She didn't lie to hurt you. She lied because she's been hiding something about herself for a long time. Something she thought would make you walk away. But she didn't cheat. And the baby, well, it might be yours. She just didn't know how to tell you the rest. I know this sounds crazy. But if you want the truth, the full truth, meet me tomorrow. 4 p.m. at the old park bench by Whitestone Bridge. I'll be there, whether you come or not. Ava." I just sat there, reading that email over and over. What did she mean might be yours? What could my ex have been hiding that she thought was worse than cheating? I wasn't sure if this was some twisted setup, or if it was the first thread of the truth unraveling. By morning, I still hadn't decided. I went to work like normal. I kept my head down. But my mind wasn't really there. At exactly 3:47 p.m., I found myself standing at the edge of Whitestone Park. I didn't even remember deciding to come, my body just brought me here. I saw a woman sitting on the bench. Early 30s, short black hair, wearing a dark green hoodie. She looked up and gave a small nod. "You came," she said quietly. "Good. Because you deserve to know what she was too afraid to tell you." Then she reached into her bag. And pulled out a small brown folder. It looked worn, like it had been carried around for a while. She held it out to me with both hands, her eyes steady but serious. "I promised her I wouldn't do this unless you came," Ava said. "But she can't say it herself. She's afraid. So, I'm doing it for her." I hesitated, then took the folder. Inside were 3 things. A printed medical report. A photo of an ultrasound. A handwritten letter, sealed, with my name on it. My fingers tightened around the paper. I looked at Ava. "What is this?" I asked. She took a slow breath. She found out she was pregnant 6 weeks ago. But when she went in for a checkup, the doctors found something else. A tumor. Early stage, but dangerous. Aggressive. She was terrified. Not just for her life, but for the baby. And for you. I looked down at the folder again. My stomach twisted. "She thought if she told you about the tumor," Ava continued, "you'd stay out of guilt." She didn't want that. She didn't want to be a burden. So she convinced herself that pushing you away was cleaner. Easier. I opened the letter. "Hey. If you're reading this, it means I messed up worse than I thought." I panicked. "I told you the baby wasn't yours because I was scared you'd stay when you shouldn't and scared you'd leave when I needed you most. The truth is, I'm sick. And yes, the baby might be yours. I didn't know how to tell you everything without it sounding like a trap. I didn't want you to feel forced to choose between me and a future you didn't ask for. So I made the choice for you. But I regret it. Every second of it. Not because I want your help. Not because I want saving. But because, even at my worst, I never stopped loving you. If there's any part of you that can believe that, I'll be waiting." My hands were shaking. I couldn't move. Couldn't speak. Ava sat beside me quietly, giving me space. After a while, she whispered, "She's at St. Mercy's. Room 214. Chemo started yesterday." The sun was starting to set. Shadows stretched long over the grass. I sat there with the letter in my lap, caught between the hurt of the lie and the weight of what it was hiding. And I realized this story wasn't over. Not even close. I stood up, looked at Ava, and said, "Take me to her." Ava didn't say anything. She just nodded and started walking toward the parking lot. I followed, the letter still in my hand. I didn't even notice that my phone was buzzing with missed messages. None of it mattered right now. The drive to St. Mercy's was mostly silent. The air between us was thick, not with awkwardness, but with everything unspoken. The closer we got, the heavier it all felt. When we pulled into the hospital lot, I sat there for a second before opening the door. "You don't have to say anything," Ava said gently. "Just listen to her." I nodded. My legs felt like stone as I walked inside. The halls were too bright, too clean. I could hear the faint beep of machines, the low hum of quiet voices. It was all a blur until I reached room 214. I stood there for a moment. My hand was on the handle, but I couldn't move. Part of me wanted to run. The other part, the part holding that letter like a lifeline, pushed the door open. She was sitting up in bed, pale, thinner than I remembered. Her hair was tied back, but I could see the strands falling out. She looked up. And when our eyes met, she gasped. Her hands flew to her mouth. Tears welled up instantly. "You came," she whispered. I didn't speak right away. I just stepped inside and closed the door behind me. Then I looked at her, not with anger, not with pity, but with something else. Something raw. "You should have told me," I said softly. She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I know. I was so scared. Not of dying, of being forgotten by you. Of becoming nothing but a problem you had to fix." I walked to the side of the bed and pulled a chair close. Sat down. Reached into my pocket and pulled out the letter. "This broke me," I said, holding it up. "But it also reminded me why I loved you in the first place. Because even in your worst moments, you still tried to protect me. Even when it hurt." She looked away, ashamed. "I never wanted to lie to you. I just wanted to disappear before you could hate me." I reached out and gently took her hand. It was cold and fragile, but familiar. "I never hated you," I said. "I was just lost. But I'm here now. And I'm not going anywhere." She cried then. Not softly, but fully, the kind of crying that breaks something open. I let her. I sat there, holding her hand, feeling the storm pass through the room and wash some of the pain away. We didn't talk much after that. Words weren't enough. We just sat in the silence, the machines humming beside us, her breathing slowly calming as the sun disappeared behind the window. For the first time in weeks, maybe longer, I felt like something had shifted. Not fixed, but shifted. A new beginning hiding inside a broken middle. And as night settled over the city, I realized, whatever comes next, I won't run. The days turned into weeks. I visited her every afternoon, sometimes with flowers, sometimes with food she didn't feel like eating, and sometimes with nothing at all, just my presence. Most days she was tired. Some days, she was too weak to speak. But whenever she opened her eyes and saw me sitting there, she smiled. That was enough. The pregnancy was complicated. The doctors were honest, they couldn't treat the cancer as aggressively as they wanted without risking the baby. It became a balancing act, slow the cancer down just enough to keep her stable while letting the child grow inside her. She once joked, "Looks like this little one's already causing drama." I smiled, even though the fear never really left either of us. One night, around week 30, I got the call. She was in labor. Early. Too early. I raced to the hospital, heart pounding like a war drum. They were prepping her for an emergency C-section. Everything was happening too fast. Nurses running. Papers being signed. Her eyes found mine just before they rolled her away. "Don't let go," she whispered. "I won't." The next hours felt like a blur wrapped in silence. I paced. I prayed to nothing in particular. I just needed someone to hear me. At 3:14 a.m., a nurse came out. Her scrubs were stained. Her eyes looked tired. "She made it," she said gently. "But she lost a lot of blood. We're still monitoring her." "And the baby?" I asked. The nurse smiled. "A little girl. Tiny, but fierce." I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. 2 hours later, I was allowed to see them. First, they brought me to the NICU, a tiny plastic crib where my daughter lay, smaller than I ever imagined. Tubes, monitors, blinking lights everywhere. But she was breathing. She was fighting. Then they took me to her. She was pale, exhausted, but alive. She opened her eyes when I stepped in, and I could see the fear in them. "Is she okay?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah. She's strong. Just like her mom." She smiled, barely. "I'm sorry for everything." I sat beside her and took her hand again, just like the first night. "Don't be. We're here now. That's what matters." She squeezed my hand weakly. What should we name her? I looked at her, and the name came without thinking. Hope, I said. She smiled through her tears. Perfect. She fought. 4 months. There were setbacks. There were dark days. But she held on, for hope. For us. And slowly, the color came back to her cheeks, her voice got stronger, and the doctors started using the word remission like it wasn't a fantasy. One sunny morning, I wheeled her out of the hospital. Hope, bundled in her arms, yawned as if the world was already exhausting. We laughed, tired, grateful, and more alive than we'd ever been. We started over. No big speeches. No dramatic declarations. Just one day at a time. And every time I looked at them, the girl who almost walked away, and the daughter who brought us back, I knew one thing. For certain. Sometimes life breaks you apart, just to build something stronger. The end.